Welcome to the LongRange University, where you'll learn how to build native mobile apps that are fully integrated with your IBM I without having to acquire a whole new set of skills or technologies. In LongRange 204, we will download and install the LongRange server software on your IBM I server. Before we begin, locate your region's support email address on the screen and jot it down, just in case you get stuck along the way and need assistance. To get started, go to the LongRange website at www.longrangemobile.com. Now we'll start the server download process. On the download page, find the section titled LongRange Server and click on the blue download button. Fill out the registration form. Be sure to pay special attention to the email address, as the instructions for downloading the software will be emailed to your address you registered with. After you download and install the software in your server, you will have 45 days to use LongRange for free. After submitting your details, you'll receive an email containing trial information and links for downloading the software. If you do not receive the email within a few minutes, check your spam and junk email folders. If the email does not arrive, resubmit the form or contact support. Click on the first link in the email to access the Download Center. The Download Center provides access to the software and documentation. You may want to bookmark this page for future exercises. Click on the green button titled Download LongRange Server. Download the zip file to your PC and place it in a temporary directory like C:\temp, for example. Once the download is finished, right mouse click on the zip file, go to the bottom of the menu and click on Properties option for the zip file. When downloading content from the web, sometimes Windows will block certain files as a security precaution. That said, we need to see if our zip file has been blocked. If you see this Unblock button, select it, as this lets Windows know you trust the content of the file. Otherwise, we may not be able to use it. The Unblock button becomes disabled once clicked. Click OK to continue. Next, we need to extract the zip file. Use your favorite zip program to extract the save file into the same temp directory. When the extraction is complete, a save file named LRNG trial will appear in your temp directory. We will come back to this file later on in the video. To begin the installation process, toggle back over to the Download Center in your browser. The LongRange Getting Started Guide contains all the information necessary to successfully install and configure LongRange on your IBM I. Click on the LongRange Getting Started Guide to continue. We are about to go through the server installation part of this guide. We suggest that you read through the guide first before continuing with the video. This video assumes you have never installed Lance's Axis product in the past. If you have, be sure to read this section thoroughly and follow these steps before continuing with the video. If you're not sure if you've ever installed Axis before, then follow this step before continuing with the video. We're about to go through the 9 server installation steps displayed here. The instructions indicate we need 2 things before we begin. First, download the LongRange file, which we've done already. And second, choose a port number to use for our LongRange app. Since LongRange default port is 80, you need to speak with your networking person to see if port 80 is already in use. If not, we'll use port 80. Otherwise, ask for a usable port. For this exercise, we will use 2110, but you can use any port number you wish. Once you've nominated a port number, write it down and continue with the installation. This video assumes you are up to date with your PDFs. If your IBM I OS is V5R3M0, V5R4M0, or V5R4M5, check to see if you're missing any of these PDFs, and if so, you will need to apply them before continuing with this video. If you don't know how to check if a PTF is installed, the documentation shows how to check here. Next, we need to move the save file from your PC to the IBM I server. Since we already downloaded and unzipped the file, please note that you need to follow these instructions verbatim, as the save file will transfer over to your IBM I server. If FTP is currently not running on your IBM I server, here is the command to start it. Continue with the video once the file has been transferred. After you've finished FTPing the save file to your server, step 3 involves checking a few system values. If these system values are not set up correctly, especially the first 2, then the LongRange installation will fail. Don't worry, you can change these system values back to the original values once the installation is complete, and there is no need to IPL the system after changing the system values. If you don't know how to edit a system variable, I'll show you how to do the first one, and then you can change the rest before continuing to the next step. Sign on to the IBM I as QSEC offer or a profile with equivalent rights, and at the command line, issue the following command: worksysval space qfrccvnrst, which is the name of the first system variable. Then, take an option 2 and press enter. Per the Getting Started guide, qfrccvnrst must be 0. Remember to write down the original value if you plan on changing it back after the installation is finished. If this system variable is not 0, then change it to 0 and press enter. Otherwise, just hit F12 to back out. Okay, you've done the first one. Now check and edit the remaining 4 system variables before continuing with the video. Okay, now that the system variables are set, let's move on to section 4, which is installing the software. This section is very straightforward, but make sure to follow these directions very closely. There are 4 commands that you will execute from the command line. Note, there are 2 different load commands, depending if you use double byte character set or not. If you are using 5250 emulation, you can copy and paste the commands from the Getting Started guide in your 5250 screens. Note, when you execute the last command, load LRNG, you will see this screen. Just press the Enter key to continue, after reading the disclosure, of course. Then, type Yes into the Agree field and press Enter. The installation will now begin and should take about 10 to 15 minutes. After the installation is finished, you will see a message that says the Axes/LongRange product has been installed. If you don't receive this message, then contact support for your region. If you need to sign off before you finish this video, use Sign Off with the log option set to List. This will preserve the installation job log and can provide invaluable information about any subsequent installation or configuration issues moving forward. The next step is verifying that the Axes LongRange server component is installed. To check, go to a command line. Enter the command for license program, which is go licpgm, and press enter. Then choose option 10 to display the list of installed license programs. You may have to page down a little bit, but locate the license programs named 1 Axes 01. Find the highlighted entries. This confirms that LongRange was installed successfully. Next, step 6 sets up Axes LongRange to start with the subsystem and changes the default port number. Before we toggle back to the green screen and start step 6, I want to point out that the first command to get executed in this exercise is different for non-English languages. Please read the difference in the documentation because the video will continue using English instructions. Back at the command line, the first thing we need to do is add the Axes library to our library list. Unless you change the default library name in the install program, the library will be called Axes. Also remember that this step is a little different for non-English languages. Make sure you see the message stating the library was successfully added. Now, to make sure Axes LongRange starts up with the subsystem, issue the command go cmd axes. To change the Axes application server, select option 10. For the instance name, enter Axes and press enter. Make sure Auto Start Server is set to Yes and press enter. Next, take option 39 so we could take a look at the port number. Press enter when you see this blank screen. Locate your Axes server and take option 22 on the instance. Page down to find the port number in the configuration file. Once you've located port, change the number to the port your networking person said was okay to use. In this example, I'm using port 2110. Press F3 to save and exit once you've made your changes, and continue to press F12 until you're back into the command line. Next, it's time to perform post-installation cleanup. From a command line, issue this command to delete the save file that was transferred to your IBM I server. You can also delete the extracted save file and zip file download from your PC as well. Next, if you haven't already done so, it's time to save the job log by signing off using the List option. This keeps the job log around for a few days so it can provide invaluable information about any subsequent installation or configuration issue you might encounter. If you don't know how to sign off this way, I can show you now. Type the sign off command and press F4 to prompt for the sign off options. Set the job log option to list and press enter. This will sign you off and save the installation job log. Next step is to verify the installation. To continue, you need the following information: the Axis server DNS or IP address, the Axis server port number, and the Axis library. First, let's start the Axis LongRange server subsystem, because you always need to have the subsystem running to use LongRange. Issue the command start subsystem, which is str-sbs. The Axis library, which is Axis unless you change the default, /Axis. To verify that it's started, run the command work active jobs. Verify that you see the Axis subsystem running. The next test is called the echo test. Open a new tab in your browser and enter this URL: http:// the DNS or IP address of the IBM server where Axis is installed, the port you assigned to Axis, /echo. You should now see this page. There is no need to analyze this information. As long as it appeared, then everything is okay. If you do not see this page, stop and contact support before continuing with this video. Next, remove the word echo from the end of the URL, so it's the same format as mine. You should see the Axis default page. If you do not see this web page, then stop and contact support before continuing. Click on the link to go to the Axis homepage. When you reach the Axis home screen, click on the Terminal Session link. This will pop open a new window that allows you to sign on your IBM in terminal emulation mode. If you get this screen, LongRange is set up correctly. If not, contact support before continuing with this video. The last step is to set up the LongRange user profile used to run your mobile apps. At the command line, type the command CRTUSRPRF and press F4. The user profile name and password can be anything you wish, but the rest of the video we will use name LRNG user. Make sure you jot down the username and password because it will be used later in the exercises. Set the initial program to call, parameter to be LRNG logon, in library LRNG_soft. Press F9 to display all parameters and page down once. Set the display sign-on information parameter to be no. Page down once. Set the delivery parameter to be notify. When you're done, press enter and the profile will be created. That's it, we're done. Congratulations, you've completed LongRange 204. Don't forget to put the system variables back to the original values if you change them. Now that LongRange is installed on your server, be sure to check out the next video tutorial in this series, LongRange 207, which configures the LongRange mobile app on your device to access your IBM server. LongRange 207 requires the DNS IP address, port number, and LongRange user ID and password created in this exercise, so be sure to have that information written down. And then lastly, in LongRange 209, we will set up the development environment on your Windows PC so you can begin building a LongRange native mobile app integrated with your IBM data and applications. If you have any product or pricing questions for LongRange, contact us by phone or the LongRange email address for your region. If you have any technical questions regarding any of the LongRange University sessions, use the support email address for your region. Congratulations once again for completing LongRange 204.